Well, how's everybody feeling today? All right, good. Feels great to feel great, doesn't it? The first thing that is apparent is that acai has received a tremendous amount of interest by the media. And just to illustrate why this has occurred, let's take a look at some of the media that has taken an interest in it. Back in 2003, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal, and it said there's a hip new taste called acai. Now, at that time, nobody could even spell it, didn't understand what it was. But as we've learned, it's a very, very potent, strong, free radical scavenger. The London Times in the UK reported on it September 20th in 2003, and it said that acai is the fruit of the Amazonian palm tree with a nutritional content that makes fruits blush with inadequacy. And they are beginning to realize at that point, by 2003, that this fruit, based on several different scientists' nutritional analysis, was extraordinarily rich in vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and essential fatty acids. The New York Times followed the following year in August 4th of 2004 and said that acai was rich in antioxidants and amino acids and thought to be one of the most nutritional fruits of the Amazon basin. Soon afterwards, the Washington Post had a story, August 11th of 2004, and they wrote, "For those put off by juiced wheatgrass or bored with low-carb bars, there is acai." Time magazine comes out next with a story, February 14th, 2005, and they say it's twice the antioxidants of blueberries and tastes like blackberries crossed with chocolate. And then People magazine, once you're in People magazine, you know you've really made it, says the latest look better, live longer superfood, it's the acai fruit, a multi-purpose mega booster berry that Hollywood has been hooked on. And it described the names of many of the Hollywood stars that were looking for acai in the marketplace. About this time, Monavie is starting to develop. And the word gets out, try Monavie. It has the actual acai, which scientists have been spending more than 10 years doing research on. And that helped to launch this company because of the interest that the media was starting to create about acai. People were starting to ask, where can I find a good acai product? Now, just to show you here, it's spring 2008. Time magazine has a new magazine called Style and Design, fascinating publication. And they've just featured acai there in the spring edition. So they finally took the time to do the research, discovered the papers that we had been publishing, and now clearly can see the superiority of acai. So, where does this acai come from? It comes from the Amazon. And the source of the Amazon is a fascinating place to study. And in this entire area, starting from the mouth of the Amazon, going more than 2,500 miles upstream, through all the tributaries and the river, what you find is acai palm trees growing. There are over 2,500 palm trees in the world, but there are only 3 species that are unique to the Amazon that we have an interest in. Euterpe oleracea, which is the botanical name, Euterpe edulis, which is also known as Jusaris, and Euterpe precatorium. Now, of these 3, the acai fruit comes from Euterpe oleracea. This is the predominant palm that is growing in the Amazon. What happens is people just climb up these trees, and I would welcome any of you to climb to the very top because those trees are about 75 to 100 feet tall. And they will go to the top, and just underneath the fronds is where the fruit grows. So they bring the fruit down, and they prepare fresh acai in their homes every day. Now, people who are fortunate enough to be able to get this fresh acai each day around cities like Belém, right on the mouth of the Amazon, about 2 million people live there. And so they consume this on a regular basis throughout their life. When they do not consume acai, they can really feel the difference. One of the problems that has developed, unfortunately, is that palm trees in the Amazon are also a source of hearts of palm, or palm hearts as they call them. Now, there are 2 species out of the 3 to which you get these these palm hearts. And what we typically do is we take these palm hearts and we put them in our salads. They provide very little nutritional value, no antioxidant activity. There's really very little known as far as any health benefit from eating heart of palm. But to get that heart of palm, what they're doing is they're destroying a tree 100 feet tall that is producing up to 2,200 pounds of acai berries a year, and simply destroying that tree to give you about somewhere between 12 to 20 inches of these hearts of palm, which is only located at the very top of the tree. And because a palm is a monocyte, by cutting the top of it off, unlike a fruit tree, it dies. It will die. So they kill it. Now I've got some really good news for you. They have come up in Brazil with a realization that the acai fruit has greater economic value to Brazil than the heart of palm. So, now they have done research and they have been planting all over Brazil on plantations and in Ecuador and in countries in Central America a new type of palm tree that's very short, it's not very tall, cobajiba. This plant allows them to get the hearts of palm within just a few years, and they can grow lots of it without in any way destroying the rainforest. So, as a result, between 2006 and 2007, the harvesting of palm trees, the acai palm trees, has dropped 17%. And today, this is really, really cool. It is literally saving the rainforest because of the tremendous demand for acai. In 2007, the Brazilian government survey found up to 7,500 acai palm trees could be growing per acre in many of the lowland floodplains. Now, I think this room is a little bigger than an acre. So you think of yourself, 7,500 palm trees growing in this room right here, all with producing acai palms. The survey found that there are over 15,500 square miles, or roughly over 1 million acres, of these areas that are rich in these palm trees. So I don't think you have to worry at all about we're going to run out of it, because if you do the math, you got over 164 million acai trees growing alone in that immediate lowland area. Phenomenal. So that for about 8 or 9 months, you can constantly get fresh berries, which can be freeze-dried, frozen, and added into the MonaV product. Now, why do we freeze-dry the product? Because scientists know in food, nutrition, chemistry that to preserve all of the necessary components in a food, you need to either flash freeze it or freeze-dry it. Any other method results in losses, and those losses mean that we are not going to see the true attributes of the fruit or vegetable or food that we're studying. And so freeze-drying has been described as the product that provides the highest quality food obtainable by any drying methods. But it is 10 times more expensive. And that's the reason why most people use spray drying. Whereas in spray drying, you use heat and you expose it with oxygen. When you do freeze drying, you're using vacuum drying. So you're taking the oxygen out. Why is this important? Because the plant has compounds in it called polyphenolic oxidases. These oxidases will start to destroy the antioxidants in the food, so that you lose this within minutes of releasing these oxidases, and you don't want to do that. And so hence, when we break up the fruit and try to preserve it, the best drying method you can use is freeze drying. Now, why is this important? Our ancestors used to eat about 800 different plant foods. And I know from teaching classes that if I asked a student to list more than 50 different plant foods they eat, they have a very difficult time to do it. We have developed a real mono-agricultural culture in North America and in many Western countries. We have the same kinds of foods over and over and over and over again in our supermarkets, but when it comes to the variety that our ancestors were able to get, there's very little of that. The reason this is important is because in this tremendous variety of foods our ancestors consumed before the dawn of agriculture, they were able to get all kinds of compounds into their system. And that is the reason why you want to take as many different fruits in at one time, because they all work together. What we have been discovering is that there are compounds which we can show no beneficial biological activity or benefit in any studies we do. So we look at them and we kind of call them inactives. But when they're suddenly combined with another chemical in the food, once it's ingested, then all of a sudden they become activated. They work like team. They're a synergy. And that's why Mona V has chosen a very wise corporate strategy by sticking to the whole food rather than relying on extracts. Well, what is an antioxidant? It's a compound that inhibits oxidation products that damage cells. So this is a natural function of antioxidants. Our body needs to have oxidative processes occur. The trouble is sometimes too much of it occurs. And when that damage occurs, we call it oxidative stress. So with oxidative stress, we have an increased metabolism caused by an imbalance between the products of oxidation, which we now refer to as free radicals, and the antioxidants. And that's the underlying factor that we now believe is behind accelerated aging that we experience as humans. So what we want to do is obviously get it back in balance. And some good examples of oxidative stress is you can observe by simply biting into an apple. If you bite into an apple, you notice a brown color occurs. That brown color is the apple's effort to repair the damage to the tissue that you've created by biting into it, and it turns brown. That brown layer is where the oxidase, these enzymes, have been released, and now they're protecting the rest of the apple. What are they trying to protect? The seed of the apple, because that's how it regenerates itself. Free radicals have actually been shown now, because of all the research that's been done, the thousands of papers. By the way, there's over 250,000 papers published now on antioxidants in the scientific medical literature. So, is acai rich in antioxidants? Well, we've studied it quite a bit, as you know. First of all, we've done oxygen radical absorbance capacity assays. This is one of the greatest discoveries, according to the USDA, in over 130 years. It allows us to take any fruit, any food, any fluid, and determine how strongly it goes and scavenges, destroys the free radical called the peroxyl radical. That is the most dominant free radical in the human body. So we can use that as an initial way of measuring how strong an antioxidant a different food is. When we did our study initially, the antioxidant levels for about 278 foods have already been identified by the USDA. They published everything in the Journal of Agricultural Food Chemistry, and they found that cranberries and blueberries were the strongest antioxidants. And that's why people started eating more cranberries and more blueberries. And of course, there's other things on there like plums and blackberries and raspberries. So all of a sudden, people were buying more of these foods, learning from the media the benefits of these products. When we went ahead and did our study, what was really strange was we got this result back from the laboratory on acai. When I got a call from Boston, Massachusetts, and they said, "Alex, we just sent you an email. We'd like you to look at the attachment." And I remember what happened. It started down at that would be your left side, if that's where the screen is. And that line, that blue line, would have taken us all the way past the wall in this room. So, of course, I said to the guy on the phone, who was the lab director, I said, "I think you made a big mistake, because nothing could be that strong an antioxidant. We don't go from 0 to 10 times greater than any other food. You must have had a laboratory error." And they told me they had redone this study 6 times. I explained also why it took 3 weeks for them to give me the results rather than 1 week. And I said, "Well, we've got to redo this." Now, it would have been easy when we first saw these results to get it published, because this is really dramatic, to find the richest antioxidant of any food in the world. But we took the time because that's what science requires. And that is why when we finally finished this work, we could publish in the Journal of Agricultural Food Chemistry, which is the leading number one ranked journal in the world in applied chemistry, nutrition, and agriculture, our results. And it got published very quickly because of all of the authors that were on that. I also knew we had a winner because at the time, every single person involved in this research said, "Alex, are you sure that my name will be on this paper?" So I knew that that was a sign that we had something really special, very historical. And you know, right now it's a lot of fun because I keep seeing papers coming from around the world. Everyone's citing our papers, and there's a lot of research going on. We also, by the way, did not want to limit ourselves to just the oxygen radical absorbance capacity assay or the ORAC assay. So what we also did was we did the Trolax equivalent antioxidant capacity assay. And again, we found it was far superior to blueberries, pomegranates, rambutan, mangosteen, dragon fruit, passion fruit. Because what I started noticing is once people realized that acai was by far the strongest antioxidant on the ORAC, they started using other antioxidant assays to try to talk their story about their superfood status. So we decided, well, if they're going to do that, let's take acai and do other assays, their antioxidant assays, and see how it turns out. Well, we did another one, and this is the ferric reduction antioxidant assay. And again, acai just blows everything out of the water. So no matter what assay we used, and by the way, we did a fourth one called the DPPH, and the same thing happened as well. So every single assay is showing us that acai is clearly the superior fruit in terms of antioxidant activity. We also sent it to the University of California School of Medicine, and there they did a TAC test, and they found this was the first food they had ever seen that was both a fast and a slow antioxidant. We then started doing other free radical scavenging assays. And the first one that we were interested in was to look at, could it do anything about the mother free radical? That's the one you really have to try to keep down. So we looked at the producer of the hydroxyl radical, which is the superoxide. There's a reason they call it superoxide. And when we did this test, folks, the same thing happened. I didn't believe the results, so we had to do it over again. Because at that time, the richest superoxide free radical scavenging value we had ever seen of any food was wheatgrass. I'm sure some of you go into health food stores and they cut some of the wheatgrass, put it through a grinder, you get a shot of this stuff, and then you smile because it tastes so good, right? Well, that's the reason few people drink wheatgrass. It's like cutting your lawn, and eating it. It just doesn't taste very good. And it had a superoxide scavenging value, generally about 150, 250, by far the richest of any food in the world. And here we take our acai and we send it to the lab. We do the same test. Came out at 1,614. So again, just blew it out of the water as the strongest free radical scavenger of superoxide of any food in the world. Again, we publish our data. We put it out there for scientists to look at it, and the reason we do that is because if we're wrong, they can refute it. And these studies have been published for over 2 years. There have been a lot of opportunities for people to refute it. No one can refute our results. There's also a green color in your MonaV. And this is sort of an oily film that you see if you leave the bottle sitting there in the refrigerator on a desk for a while, this kind of green oil. Do not get rid of that. Make sure you shake that bottle so that you spread that oil, okay? Because that oil is another thing that just surprised us. Because what we found is the acai berry was rich in monounsaturated, polyunsaturated fatty acids. These are the good oils that the doctors keep telling you should be eating. And what I'm finding is a lot of companies who can't deal with people complaining about the green film or green oil in their product, they're clarifying or filtering that out of their product. This is a huge mistake. You want that oil in there. It's a great value you're getting with MonaV. So let's take a look at something else we did, and this really surprised us. We took blueberries, which everybody has heard great things about, and I like blueberries. They grow in my backyard. I live in a region where they grow a lot of blueberries. It's an important part of our economy in the Pacific Northwest. But when we started comparing per 100 grams, Monavi, we took acai first, and we then compared it to blueberry, what you'll see is that acai was far superior. It contains all the vitamins, minerals that we were looking for, trace elements essential for health. All the amino acids, essential as well as non-essential, were there. Important for protein synthesis was found in the fruit. When we looked at the chemical composition, so you can see here the cyanidin-3 rutinoside is one of the primary ones because that's the one at the University of Pittsburgh. They didn't know that I knew this. This was work that we had done at a USDA laboratory in Little Rock, Arkansas. And we see that when you classify the flavonoids, these are the flavonoids, these are the compounds we find in so many different foods that are being touted for their nutritional value. Green tea, same thing is found in the catechins, epicatechins in green tea. We find it in acai, which we find also in grapes and berries and apples. The isoquercetin, which you find in cherries, onions, elderberries, nettles, St. John's wort, and numerous other therapeutic herbs. Onions, scallions, kale, broccoli. You can see the list of all these foods. These are all good foods. So, these are the things that we want to eat more of. And this remarkable fruit from the Amazon contains all of these compounds. So we have learned a lot about the berry, and we published all of this in the Journal of Agricultural Food Chem. This is one of our 2 papers. This is where we reported the highest antioxidant scavenging activity against the peroxyl superoxide radical. We showed the remarkable number of phytochemicals in the food. We showed unusually rich nutrients, amino acids. We started looking at other foods that are out in the marketplace, like the powders, for example. Pomegranate juice powder was nothing compared to the freeze-dried acai powder. So, this is truly a comparison of apples to apples because they're down to the same moisture level. We started asking a question about Monavi because it's got the acai in there. We selected it because it was the leading acai product in North America. We could verify it by the Brazilian manufacturing. It's done in U.S. FDA facilities. And then we set up what's called a gold standard research design, a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled, crossover design study of Monavi in healthy adults, 19 to 52 years old. We gave them some Monavi after we took baseline data, and then we measured every so many time points to see what was happening in their bloodstream. And the results are quite fascinating. So what happened was we presented it at a conference at the Second International Symposium on Health Effects of Fruits and Vegetables, which brought all the researchers in the world together, and these were our results. The consumption of Monavi has led to increased levels of serum antioxidant compounds compared to placebo. We saw that in 82% to healthy adults. Number 2, which was really phenomenal, that is 91% of the adults had less lipid peroxidation in their serum within 4 hours. So what can we say about the product? Monavi Active has the ability to increase antioxidant activity in healthy adults, studied ages 19 to 52. But you have to be careful to always say these results do not mean it will work for everybody. We can't say that until more studies are done. Okay, so be cautious about it. Very quickly, some recommendations to stay healthy. Exercise vigorously and on a regular basis. Don't smoke and avoid secondhand smoke. Get adequate amounts of sleep. Eat healthy, nutritionally dense foods, including fruits, vegetables, and nuts. Avoid hydrogenated oils and trans fats. Wash your hands so that you don't get exposed to bacteria. Consume Monavi. Stay healthy, have fun, enjoy life, and thank you for helping people with their health.